it, we're going to call our next panel. We're fine with the video. So we got the next panel with actually a few, well, not only a few, only women. It was not on purpose, but that's actually just very interesting, where it's called Transforming Established Brands in the Digital Age. And to moderate this panel, and she will introduce her panelists, please help me welcome Isabelle Musnik and her panelists.
Hello, everybody. So we're going to discuss a very important subject, how old brands are getting digitals, and old brands. You have a good example of old but famous brand here. You have Société Générale, Allianz, and Pernod-Ricard. And these brands have really managed to reinvent themselves through consistent brand overhauls. So we're going to discuss that with a fantastic team, 3 panelists. Antonia McCahon, she's Global Head of Digital Marketing at Pernod-Ricard, shifting digital marketing and taking it to the next level. That was what she wanted to do when she took the job 12 months ago. And over the past years, as you'll see, she's played a huge role. Second panelist, Virginie Fauvel. She's joined the insurance company Allianz in 2012 as member of the executive committee in charge of digital and market management. And besides, she's been appointed as member of the French National Digital Council. And before that, she launched Hello Bank, which is the first European 100% mobile bank. And last but not least, Francoise Mercadal-Delasalles. She joined Société Générale in 2008 as head of the group's corporate resources and innovation division, and she has had a seat at the group's executive committee. She's in charge of the group's innovation strategy, and she also managed digital transformation at Société Générale, and as part of the project, she leads a very important program called Digital for Us, which she will explain to us. So we're going to start with Antonia. Now, Pernod-Ricard is a beverage giant, as you know, and it traces its roots back to 1805, so a very old brand. In 2012, Forbes ranked the company the most innovative company in France and number 15 worldwide. So a big challenge for her. But she didn't rest on her laurels. She started to increase collaboration, take innovation to the next level. So how did you do that?
Well, I think what's important to understand about Pernod-Ricard is a couple of elements of context. So, as you pointed out, established brands with a real legacy. We're also a very decentralized organization with real accountability at operational levels, so really in the markets. And so within that context, the question was, how do you move a decentralized organization fast, sort of transform them fast? And actually speaking with a friend about this recently, he likened it to an army getting ready for battle. And so you've got sort of different tactics. And I think one tactic was having a clear strategic vision. Next, you've sort of got your troops, the whole organization that you need to bit by bit start transforming. And then you've got other sort of quick wins and opportunities that you just need to go into sort of a commando type of mode to get things done. And so that's very much how we've been sort of rolling out this sort of transformation of Pernod-Ricard to really sync with the connected consumer. Within that, I think, even before I started, the company had already started connecting the organization. And in a decentralized organization, that was a critical key step. And so there was the introduction of an internal social network called Chatter at that point in time. And so that was 2 years, but already we saw that within 6 months there were super users. The CEO was incredibly active, so really there was direction from the top. And actually what it led to was a breakdown of the hierarchy. When we're talking about rather traditional companies like Pernod-Ricard, it was a sort of very digital age dynamic that was created. Then when I came on board, I helped establish the digital acceleration roadmap. which essentially we got the sort of digital champions, 80 digital champions throughout the group from HR, finance, marketing and sales, and talked about, really how is digital going to be game-changing for our organization. And we worked towards a very clear roadmap around 4 key battles. And so they're connected content, data smart action, everywhere commerce, and an enabled organization. And then finally, there's another effort, which is led by education and culture change. And we've just introduced a MOOC, which is kind of like, it's based on gamification, and it's all about digital culture. There are 14 modules, and really fun and quite addictive, but it's around digital culture, and really changing the way people start thinking around digital.
So you really involved every employee in the group.
Yeah, and that was really important to get everybody involved. And I don't think there's sort of a one-stop answer to that question because, obviously there are different levels from COMEX right down to people who are working in the distillery, in the vineyards. There's loads of different people who were involved and engaged in different ways. So, for example, we've put into different markets applications for the sales force to help them do livestock checks, for example, and talk about and send pictures around about how our products are merchandised in bars, great ideas and that sort of thing. There was a recent example of using Chatter where somebody sitting in duty-free in an airport noticed that the labeling on an Absolute bottle wasn't quite right, and they sort of put it on Chatter, and straight away our anti-counterfeit team got onto it and were able to straight away deal with it. It was a situation around counterfeit. So I think that we can see that it's really making a difference in many levels of the organization.
And you're saying that your CEO was involved, so it's very important. I mean, it has to come from top to bottom.
Yeah, it is, and what we see is that, and I'm very lucky in that respect, because having spoken with a lot of my counterparts at other companies, they don't have the same sort of top-level support on that. On the other hand, we also have, a whole new younger generation of digital natives coming in who come to work, bring their own tools, and they just work differently. So, that, again, for HR and culture is a whole other challenge for us.
And how do you motivate people in the company to become more digital?
I think, obviously, there's a lot of visibility associated with digital projects, taking risks, and actually there is a real culture at Pernod-Ricard now. From a very high level, we're encouraged to take, risks that are kind of educated, not just risks for the sake of it, and to test and learn, share failures, share successes with other people. As well, we've integrated digital-oriented KPIs into a lot of people's objectives as well. So if they're going to get their bonus, there are a certain number of things that need to have been thought about, integrated into their ways of working as well. And I think generally just by living the space and playing with the different apps and the different tools that are out there, that people become very motivated. I mean, we really encourage what we call trade visits, but for us, I mean, it's kind of fun. You go out to a bar and have a drink with consumers and socialize with them, find out how they're living the space, and it's just obvious when you do that everybody's on mobile, everybody's planning events on social media, and actually in the last 5-10 years, the whole social scene has fundamentally changed thanks to digital.
So it is included in the bonuses. I mean, it's something that you can measure.
Yeah, so we've tried to put in some relatively simple KPIs that can actually be followed for top and middle management, specifically around data and content, looking at new ways of getting really interesting messages at the right moment to consumers. Also around e-commerce and also around culture change, which is, I guess something that's slightly more difficult to measure. A lot of this is built around, there's obviously coursework to do, but also we try to make it fun. So it's participation in different apps that help us, check out what's happening on trade, for example. It's also about completing the MOOC called DigiFit. People get scores and badges and can challenge each other to battles. So that sort of thing is quite visible as well.
And did you meet resistance? I mean, because it's not that easy to change everybody's mind.
Well, you know what? Coming into a decentralized company, I really thought that I would be met with resistance, but I was really surprised. People are generally very, very open. And I think the real challenge for people is, where do I start? I mean, I think it can be quite an overwhelming space for a lot of people, and so we try to cut it down to stuff that's really simple, and especially in marketing, we bring it back to the fundamentals. I mean, the end game hasn't changed. It's just the way we execute that has. And so, you know, that again is another key message that we try to drive home to marketers, to sort of de-dramatize the whole idea of doing digital.
And were there any countries more reluctant, or?
Yeah, I think that exists in any company. I mean, we have a footprint of where we exist in 80 different markets. So, you know, of course, we're going to have teams that are more digitally mature than others. And of course, there's always, you know, resistant, and then other markets that are completely open to change. But in general, it has been quite an open culture.
Thank you very much. Now, Société Générale. Société Générale is an old lady as well, celebrating its 150th anniversary this year. And this old lady has decided to get a new youth and to speed up. And it worked so well that you've been elected Best Bank for Innovation in November 2013. And this year, you also became top bank and number 4 business in the CAC 40, which is a Paris Stock Exchange digital champion ranking, in the Echo magazine. So a good result. So how did you start this transformation?
Yes, we're very happy with this result. In a way, it was quite a surprise for a number of people to see a bank like ours, 150 years old, in this position in the ranking. But it's the result of tough work, I would say, of the whole company for 2 years now. For me, either maybe start with a little bit of the context of the banking industry in the world, but in Europe in particular. You know that we've been struggling within a very tough crisis for 6 years now. And in a way, digitalization was not really at the top of the preoccupation of the top management during those years, because, again, we had to really think of reorienting the business models to enter into very tough regulations. And again, 2 years ago, I was thinking to myself, but there are so many things happening in terms of the transformation of the relationship due to the digitalization, and it will come to banks, definitely. And we have to do something for this, to move and to transform ourselves, but how to persuade the managers that it's really necessary, and this is really where we have to shift our attention now. And the response was, use the force of our people within the company. Use, in a way, the collective intelligence of our collaborators inside. And what we did is we used the internal social networks that we had just put in place. It's really recent. And we have just a few people, a few thousands of people on this network. But anyway, we decided to launch a sort of a contest or challenge in this network, asking people what would be the bank of tomorrow in the digital era. Speaking about clients, what would be the new interface necessary to interact with our clients in this new era? What would it change in the relationships within the company, the way we work together? Because we were convinced that it would move so many things in the way we work together. And then the impact on technologies. Because, of course, everybody used to say it's not a question of technology, it's a question of usage. For sure, it's a question of usage. But if you don't have the technologies well in place in the company, you can't move anything. So we started this challenge, and it lasted for 1 month, and we had so many people interacting on the network. And just to give you a few figures, at the beginning there were 2,000 or 3,000 people on the network. And we are now 50,000 people that are using on a day-to-day basis this network. So it was a real success, and what it showed to the top management of the company was that people within were absolutely conscious about the fact that we had to move, and were absolutely enthusiastic about this change, about this movement, which was a little bit counterintuitive, because some would have thought that maybe people would be afraid of this, thinking that it would change so much, for example, our physical settlement. You know, this continuous fight between physical and digital, which is in fact not the way we should put it. And on the contrary, people showed again their volunteer, their energy into the digital transformation. So it started like that. We started hard, let's say digital history like that. And after this, we put in place a number of actions, either in the side of the client. The interface with the client is really moving fast in Société Générale. We have a mobile interface now that is really classified as very good all around the world. We have almost 40 million contacts each month through the interface, this mobile application that is called l'appli, Société Générale. We put in place also a number of experience within the company in terms of how we would work together very differently. And for example, we are home working for some of us, which seems to be quite not new, I would say, but in fact for a bank, it is something quite new, I can tell you. So a number of things like that, like home working. And in terms of technology, we are really pushing our IT transformation very fast. Just to mention, for example, our strong evolution in terms of cloud. Cloudification is something that we are pushing very much.
Now, employees really participate a lot in that network and in the process?
Employees are keys. Definitely, either they will accept to go and to continue to push, or we will be just dead. And in order to help them, we entered into a very new concrete program that you mentioned that is called Digital for All. And this idea of Digital for All is really to deploy massively to all our collaborators, and I insist on this all, because this is very important, the tools that are necessary to interact in this new era. As I was mentioning, it's easy to speak about being client-centric, entering into new interfaces with the clients, etc., etc. But if you don't have the tools, it's just impossible. So what we decided to do is really to equip all our collaborators, first of all on the desktops with the last collaborative tools, and we have a partnership with Microsoft that we recently signed, but also with tablets, mobile devices, where they will be able to reach completely freely, and this is really new, the internet world, which is not the case on the laptops, because you have to understand that we are a bank, and of course the security is something that is really very important. So all the internal IT, I would say, and applications are very much protected. But on these tablets, the idea is really to be able to communicate with the world through internet, being able to access to all the public social networks, being able to access to external MOOCs. We have internal MOOCs, but we want our people to be able to learn on those new tools, being able to go on app stores and to buy the application they need in order to better interact, first together within the company, and of course with their clients. So this is a sort of symmetric attention. We really believe that it's in investing in our people inside that we'll be able to be much better with our customers outside.
And what about co-creation?
So co-creation is exactly part of this ecosystem we want to create. Again, give people the tools to be able to put their ideas on it and to invent the life that go with it. So this ecosystem is, again, internal and external. Internally, I spoke about our people inside, and we encourage them definitely in creating. So we have a number of innovation challenges that we are pushing a lot inside. And the top management is really implied in those challenges. And as far as the outside the company is concerned, first of all, of course, our customers. And the idea is to really try and establish a very interactive link in order to capture the needs, in order to, of course, better serve them. Our first experience was with our SG Evu. SG Evu is this link we established on Twitter, and that is really, really very vivid and powerful. We have more than 1 million followers, if I remember well, on this Twitter line. And we engaged ourselves in responding within 30 minutes to our clients for all kinds of problems. And we also encourage our collaborators to be on those networks and to, in a way, be the ambassadors of the company. And it works quite well. We also have a number of experiences that we are pushing a lot. For example, we just put in place something called l'Appli Lab, where we ask our customer to try and invent and develop their own applications to enrich, to nourish our own global application. And apart from the customers that are really the source of inspiration, I would say, for us, are, of course, the startup world. And it's been a moment now that we tried to really establish the link with them. Being in California for a while, we've been settled in San Francisco for a while, trying to get in touch with the innovation there. And we try to develop more and more the contact with French tech, because I'm really proud of this. I think this is something that is really emerging in France, that is really strong. And we should be very proud of this. This is something that in the actual quite a dull period, let's say, in the economic terms, is something that should give us a real optimism. So we are establishing contacts through a number of incubators we are partnering with, through a number of universities. Also, we are, of course, working with startups, and I would mention, for example, a little startup called Iseop, that is in artificial intelligence, and this is really very interesting. We are working with a little startup called Theodo, and Theodo is helping us learning how to make fast IT, to really develop faster and faster in order to be responsive to our business lines and to our customer. So this is I would say, a sort of a global ecosystem, what I would like to mix internal and external, inside and outside, to really enrich, nourish each other in order to, at last, trying to find a disruptive idea that is going to push us to continue to be at the best level of relationship with our clients.
You once said in an interview that you can be better than Google or Amazon.
You won't say that again, because I was really...
Oh, why not? Why not?
I don't know. What is sure is that we have to know Google. We have definitely to learn about, to learn from them, definitely. And it's what we are doing, trying to explore better how they work. The methodology of internal work within the GAFAs are very interesting. And we have to, again, definitely learn, be very humble, see how we could adapt. It's a question, of course, of attracting new talents, of having the good guys continuing to join the company. So we have to offer very different ways of working together. I would mention pizza teams, very flat teams, trying to offer them the right networks within the company in order to exchange forgetting a little bit the hierarchies, the silos, and you know probably that for all companies like ours, this is probably the most difficult thing to achieve. So this is very important. At the same time, we have to learn from GAFAs, definitely, and we have to learn from the startups, and getting more and more inspired by them, and trying to impulse these new methods, culture, moods in our companies.
Now, bank was a little bit behind, but the insurance sector, wow. So Virginie, when you arrived, I suppose you discovered something quite hard, but you made it.
First of all, good afternoon to everybody, and I would just like to say that I'm pleased to be with 3 smart women. So thank you for being there, because there are not so many women in the tech environment, and I think it's very important to promote them. So insurance is a very interesting sector, because the sector is really at the beginning of the curve. It's more different in the banking industry, because the transformation has begun some years ago with online bank. So I think they could be very innovative today. For the insurance sector, there are very strong change. The first one is Internet of Things, because you can have some tools, some device that measure how you drive your car, who is in your house, who track your health. So it's going to change the way we insure people. The first impact is really Internet of Things, I think, for insurance sector. The second one is sharing economy. When you take the car from somebody else, like BlaBlaCar, or there are many companies like Drivey, it's very hard for an insurer to insure the risk, because you don't know who is going to drive the car, who is going to be inside the car, and what will be the journey. So it's a very big change for us, about Internet of Things, firstly. Secondly, sharing economy. And the other point, but it's the same for Pernod-Ricard, it's the same for Société Générale, and all the industry, is the customer has really changed, and now he wants to interact with insurer like he interacts with Google and with Facebook with the same user experience. So the transformation path is tough, as you say, because we have to transform the whole company. It's not just a question of IT, it's not just a question of communication, it's really a question of transforming the way we interact with customers, the way we present the product, and also the way we manage employees. So yes, for Allianz, it's a big change in France and worldwide, because we know that the company, that the job we do is going to change deeply in the next 10 years, and we have to adapt to the context, to the customer, to the IT, and to competitors, because the competitors are not the same than it used to be. It's the same, I think, for banking industry.
So what are the key things that you implemented?
I think for digital transformation, the most important thing is not remaining in PowerPoint, because you have always many consultants, many smart studies that explain how to do things. It's very interesting, and French people like very much thinking about things, and so it's very important to understand what happened. But I think for digital transformation in a company, the most important thing is doing things, deliver. So in a transformation path, you have to build a roadmap for the long term. But when we talk about long term in digital, it can't be more than 80 months. So you have a long-term roadmap, but also a short-term roadmap. And I have just 2 examples in Allianz. We've launched 2 innovative projects for the customer this year. The first one is Internet of Things. We use the TomTom technology And we put a dongle inside a car, and the dongle is going to analyze some data about the way people drive the car. And next year, we will give discounts to green customer, meaning customers that drive in a green way. So it's really interesting. The customer has the possibility also to know how he drives his car, because sometimes people are driving their car too aggressively, but they don't know what they have to change in their behavior. And so there is some kind of green scores about their driving, and they can share the score on social media. So it's very interesting for them to know how they drive, firstly, and then to have discount next year if they have a green behavior. But what is more important is we can detect if there is an accident. And if there is an accident, we can call the customer through an app and ask if the customer needs help. And if he doesn't answer, it's possible to call for help for the customer, because we know where he is. So it's really simple for the customer, and you see that it changed really the way we interact with the customer, because it's kind of prevention, it's a green approach, it's discount, and also it's help when needed. So it is my first example. And the other one is fast quote. You know, sometimes when you ask for an insurance online, you have to fulfill about 50 or something like that data. It's very long, and you don't have always all the elements the insurer asked. So we've decided to launch fast quote. Fast quote is 5 questions, and you have a quotation for your car insurance, your home insurance, or your health insurance. So it's very, very simple for the customer. It's easy question to answer. And then there is a quotation. So how we do that? We use external data. So we take big data outside the company. And also, we approximate some data to give a quite true price. The price is true in 85% of the case. So it's really a very good approximation. But you know, it's very important to transform the way you interact with the customer. Not anymore big question, many data to enter, simplification. It is very important because a third of our customer, and I think it's the same in many business, interact with us through tablet or through mobile. So it's very important to have simplified forms, because if you are too complicated, the customer will go outside and will go to competitors or to digital company. So it's 2 examples, very concrete. We are the first and the only one insurer to do that in France. It's simplification, and it's dealing with the customer in a global way and not just selling products. Digital is changing the way company interacts with customer. It's not, what is very important in the digital transformation, it's not reproducing the face-to-face the interaction. It's creating a new interaction. For example, when you use Facebook or when you use Twitter, you don't interact in the same way with your friends than when you are in a bar drinking a glass of wine from Pernod-Ricard or something like that. It's different. We have to reinvent all the interaction with our customer.
But it raises, and Isabelle allows me to ask a question, so thank you very much. A question comes to my mind. Where do you put, as an insurance sector, we really understand what could bring the Internet of Things to your industry. Where do you put the limits to private life?
It's a very, very important question. It's a question of compliance. You know, insurer, we are used to deal with very, very, very private data, especially health data. So I think we are a trust actor because we are responsible. We are strongly regulate our banks, as banks are. So I think private data compliance, when you are talking about big data, when we are talking about Internet of Things, it's a very, very, very important topic. And I think it's very important that large actor, responsible actor, enter into this market and don't give this market to other actors that are less regulated. So I think it's very important for you, for us, not to let this market to other actors that are less focused on compliance. And banker insurer compliance is obviously very important for us.
Antonia, coming back to links with startups, you also launched a project called the Digital Distillery. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, right. So we did. Another initiative as well to help actually match up some real business needs that we had in markets with this, the sort of startup community. What we realized was that around the 80 different markets at some point in time, we were being contacted by or meeting similar types of startups. And actually as well, there was a big gap between markets and their business every day and their ability actually to start working with and tangibly integrate and get real projects working with startups off the ground. So we integrated something called the Digital Distillery, and it's managed by a team of guys who just kind of live and breathe the startup world, but also who know our business intimately as well. And they provide that bridge between markets and startups. And actually, it was interesting listening before to you know, the idea of we should take inspiration from startups. And I do think startups have a lot of things to sort of teach us about risk adversity and that sort of thing. But actually, well, from our perspective at Pernod-Ricard, I don't think we should act like startups. I mean, we have a very successful, established business model. We have things that work in our business. And actually, where we've had greater success in partnering is probably with more the grown-ups. You know, I think you probably saw Sprinkler on stage before, who's one of our partners, who I consider not sort of a startup, but not really, you know, they've been around a few years. And I think that that's a big watch-out, because when I arrived at Pernod-Ricard, a lot of people were sort of saying we have to act like and be like startups, but, you know, the reality is we're never going to be, and the reality is that most startups we see aren't going to succeed either. But I think there are interesting dynamics in that.
We have some questions, and I think the first one would be for Francoise.
Why is mobile payment created by the web actors? Yes, well, they're on the payments, definitely, and they entered this portion of our activity a while ago. We are also on the mobile payment, of course. This is exactly what I was saying a moment ago. They are going very fast. They are very good. They have an interface that is very efficient with the clients. Well, we have to learn, we have to compete, and this is definitely a challenge, I would say. So I would be very humble in that, saying that it's probably, again, a portion of our activity that is at risk, and we have to reinvent ourselves in this. As Virginie said a moment ago, I really think that in our DNA is something different, very different. This is the trust, and this trust, this protection of the data, this security of the data is something that we have that is still and that will remain very different from them. So probably that there will be a sort of a balance that will happen between those very fast trackers and ourselves at a moment or the other.
Another question about tracking. A big question. How do you track leads and sales from web to store? Each of you, very quickly.
I'm not sure it's a question of... it's not a question of tracking one to the other, I would say. It's a question of managing the network. What we have to invent, and this is what is quite difficult when you inherit of a very ancient network and very ancient IT system, legacy system. It's really to be able to to be in relation with your banker when you want, exactly as you want, either through the branch physically or through the digital tools. And the challenge for us is to really connect it, to be in real time. And it's easy to say. It's not so easy to do because, again, it's a question of legacy system, and I won't enter into the technique, of course, but it's a question of plugging a sort of a new, very real-time interface with the legacy and the core banking systems. But I think those two things, again, physical and digital, should really play together. And what you all see is that even the first full web or digital actors are coming back to physical settlements because we need both.
Yeah, so just from our perspective in our industry, I think one of the questions is around tracking trends, and we've actually established a network of sociologists around the world, actually in about 15 different countries, who track trends in socializing. Because obviously, socializing is key to our business, and we feed that back into product innovation or to a service innovation, if you like. Because one of the key things where digital can really make a difference to us is creating or facilitating social experiences for people, whether it helps them with planning in the moment of socializing or talking about the event afterwards. So tracking trends is key to us and really impacts right down to the ground, even right down to the way our sales force works. Knowing around drinking trends and cocktail trends and that sort of thing.
Well, I can see the 0 second left. I'm awfully sorry. I would love that to go on and on. Sorry not to be able to answer all your questions. Thank you very much. It's the end.
Thank you.
0 seconds.
Thank you. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.